All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for April 25th, 2023. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gentlemen, the first thing we have on our agenda are our minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections?
I don't have any. I would so move that we adopt the minutes of the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County for April 18th, 2023.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, April 18th, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
All right, next up is planning. And it looks
Like we're signing.
like we're just signing again today. I like it.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Sign on.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll come on down.
All right.
Oh, that's right, he's filling in, huh?
Yeah,
I like that.
probably worked that out real well Yes, he did.
Short and
Okay.
sweet.
I like it, short and sweet.
Paperwork and move on.
Paperwork and move on. All right, I don't have anything else. Commissioners, do you have questions or comments? Okay,
All right.
well, thank you all.
Did we ever get a date set up to meet with the planning commission?
Did
That
we ever
should
get a
be
date
on the May 1st workshop.
on the May 1st workshop? So it'll be here then at 6?
1:30,
Oh,
the
1:30,
first.
okay. So our workshop.
Correct.
They'll be here,
That'd be
okay.
great.
All right,
All right, great.
perfect. Sounds
you.
good, guys, thanks, appreciate it. All right, next on our agenda, we have our public comment session. Board of Montezuma County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments, and comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. And with that, the public comment session is open. All right, seeing no public comment, we'll close the public comment session. We're going to move right on to our department reports. I don't see Gina or Bobby in the room, so Jennifer, you get to be the first one up. We're going to talk MoCo transportation.
I didn't see anything in the folder. Did you not send anything?
I didn't need to send anything, no. Really not a whole lot new going on. We did have a rider count last month of 762. Year over year, last March was 748, so a little better. But our quarter numbers are really a lot better. We did 2,464 rides. And last year we did 1,886, so that's a difference of 578. So we're really starting to see that trend. I am fully staffed again. So I've got 7 drivers, and we have, 6 vehicles, so we're good there. Haven't heard anything on the new vehicle. They're still doing their negotiations, I guess. I thought we were gonna get it done about a month ago, and nothing yet. I was wanting to do an article in the paper to let people know we're out there. I'm working on the radio station still, but I want to do an article. I'm not sure how to go about that. Maybe get with Vicki.
Actually, probably Ian or Vicky. I mean, I'm not sure.
Just for the
Is it
wording and,
PSA through the journal?
yeah, because I think
What are
that,
your recommendations, Ian?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple ways you could do it. You could reach out to a reporter at the Cortez Journal and see whether they would be interested in doing an article on MoCo. I don't know if that's something that they've done before. The alternative would be to do a press release and then send that over. And so you can do it either way, but really the conduit would be probably the paper.
right, okay. All right, that's what I was wanting to do, because I think a lot of the people that ride our bus still read the paper. I mean, I still read the paper. So I'm wanting to try to do that. But other than that, we're just plugging along. So, any questions?
I don't think so. I think the PSA was going to be my question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Public service announcement.
I also got
So-
with Esmeralda from, I can't remember what her place is called, down there on the corner, 145 and 160, that little restaurant slash store. And they're doing a big Cinco de Mayo, and she asked me to bring some flyers by, so I'm going to do that too.
Okay.
Because I think that'd be a good way to get those out too.
Okay. Yeah, I think just from me is the more we can get that out there, that people realize that it's truly there, and there's
Right.
an opportunity for transit if you need it, that, that it's available and they should be utilizing it.
Right, right. And we are getting busier, so that's a good thing.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks.
All right, Frank, you were next. You came in the room next. We're going to go up to Veteran Services. That's okay. You're fine. Make sure that mic is on. There you go.
It is now.
Yep.
Okay. So this is our monthly report for March. And the report that was sent to the VA. We had I had a total of 324 telephone calls, 146 appointments, for a total served 470, and we had one survey that was submitted. Excuse me. See, financial report for March. Permanent salaries, 1,162. Part-time salaries, closing out the part-time position at 1,476.30. Fringe benefits, 341.67. Operating expense was 107.04. Public outreach was at 0. Telephone was at 40. Dues, training, and travel, 350, for a total of 3,477.01. Our March office activities, comparison for March of 2022, we had 145. This year we had 146, so that put us up 1. Our total telephone calls, 324. No outreach events. Total number of clients assisted, 470. New clients, we had a total of 9. Excuse me, a total of 9. See, new clients year to date, it had a total of 17. And I filed 10 claims. Our highlights for March, there was 15 decisions. 11 of them were favorable, 2 unfavorable, and 2 continued, or confirmed and continued.
So, Frank, I got a question on these because it seems like, you know, every time we look at these decisions, how far back are these decisions actually being? I mean, these 15 decisions, were they from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago? It seems like they drag and drag and drag. What
They do.
were
and
these?
a lot
When
of,
were these filed?
a lot of these were filed last year. We have some that are older than that because they're either appeals or there's VA still waiting on documentation to come in.
So do our VAs understand that, or do they know that? I mean, because we look at it and we understand it, but when they file it, I think they become disenchanted with, well, I'm going to wait 18 months, or I'm going to wait 24 months for just a decision. I mean, is that, how do we, is there any way to expedite that?
Well, they're supposed to be doing decisions within 30 days to 1 year. But unfortunately, because of the delay in getting records from doctors or the veteran themselves, that is delaying their claim. Or if they just want more confirmation about it being confirmed to continue, they're just needing more confirmation and documentation, trying to get everything towards the military, you know, their military background and trying to connect it with their service.
So if you file a claim today, it's probably 18 months before we get a decision.
More than likely, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be a lot sooner. It all depends on if they get the required paperwork and medical records and everything that they need. That's what's delaying a lot of it, is getting medical records from the private sector, because they don't look at it as, and I hate to say this, as an importance. But, you know, the veterans themselves, they wanted their claim and their decision yesterday. But they do understand that there's a process and there's a waiting period.
Okay. All right.
See, our new monthly payments for March was 21,905.97. My new monthly annual total, 262,871.64. My retro payments was 597,265.99. And the reason for that is some of those claims actually went back to 2012. So they can go that far back. And the six-figure income, I mean, you get the veteran and/or spouse calling, trying to figure out why. So that's where I come into the picture, and I research it on the VA website, and I let them know, well, they went up back to 2012, or they went back to 2018. So that's why you're getting that amount, and they're like, well, am I good to use it? It's your money. The VA awarded that money to you. Well, are they going to come back and get it? So I'd have to research it and let them know, no, they're not going to come back. Everything is permanent and total. It's final. So they're happy campers, and it brings money into the county.
Okay.
That's all I have. Is any
right.
questions, anything else?
Question?
In researching it on the website, is the website functioning pretty good? I mean, that you access for these claims?
For the VA website?
Yeah,
It is.
okay.
It is.
Because I knew that, a couple of years ago, was having problems.
And I was having issues when I first got on, but it wasn't anything from the county. It was all on the VA side.
Okay.
They forgot to click a button or forgot to add me into the system. So that, of course, when I tried to log in, it didn't recognize me. So I was on the phone for 3 days straight trying to get all that figured out, and I finally did. And they wound up saying, oops, our bad. That was our fault. And I'm like, well, you just delayed me 3 days because I couldn't do what I needed to do. And they apologized for it and everything, and I understand things happen, but, that delays me, delays the veteran in getting an answer, which in turn makes it look like my office is not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Hurry up and wait.
Pretty much. That's the military's theme.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Gina, Social Services, come on down.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I would so move we accept the report of proceedings of the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners and approve the minutes as written from the meeting of Social Services Board for March 28th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the record of proceedings for the Department of Social Services for March 28, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I also make a motion, we accept the expenditures for the month of March in the amount of $1,505,961.79.
Second.
It's also been moved and seconded to accept the payables for the month of March 2023 in the amount of $1,505,961.79. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kim, do you have the official copy or? Okay. Who wants to go first? Gina, you or Miss Lori?
Well, as you can see, the EBT total from February to March has gone down significantly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the total here. This is good news, actually. I like to see these numbers, and it should be going down some more as we go in the future. There's a,
Before we move on, I was going to ask you the question, how did that whole transition take place? How's it?
it's coming along fine. And I don't see any problematic areas.
So
Ours-
everybody realized that the change was coming and they've accepted it?
A lot of
Okay.
advertisement, a lot of media, a lot of mail went out from HICPUF, et cetera. It's also posted on our website.
Okay.
The calls in February were higher than they were in March, but they've gone down quite a bit. But I don't see any problem areas with people calling in and being dissatisfied. And I'm happy to say, as the Director of Social Services and Eligibility, I haven't had one complaint in the last 6 months.
Good.
And that is, to me, phenomenal. So I want to appreciate and give my thanks to the eligibility staff for staying on task and doing what they need to do to serve our community. We are fully staffed. I'm happy about that, too. Let's hope we can keep and maintain that staffing, because retention is very important here in our county. And I really try to retain people in our county by providing training to our staff as much as needed. So just want to emphasize that training is important, and I do think that our staff get a lot out of training when we do provide it. There was a request for funding from the Clara Ormiston Fund. I think you've read it, and I've approved $3,501.26 to go to an individual who has been diagnosed with cancer, and this individual applied and sent in her application and proof of all the bills that she has from all the providers. So at this time, I'm requesting that the Commissioner Chair sign off on this funding for this individual. And this Clara Ormiston Fund came about in 1946. I was reading up on it late. It came from this individual who left money to help folks who were needing financial help and when they were diagnosed with cancer. And to my understanding, there's something like $60,000 left in that fund. And it goes both to Montezuma County and Dolores County citizens who apply. And they have to meet certain requirements, and we have a procedure and policy in place. So I would hope.
I've never seen it used in the 4.5 years that I've been here. I don't know, I mean,
We used it.
there's a lot of years of
Pe-
experience up here,
people
so.
that-
We had
It's
requests
a
for
very
it.
rare occasion, but
It-
we do use it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important for the community to know that that funding is there for people who need the extra help. So I just
Okay.
wanted to bring that up.
I would so move we approve the expenditure from the Clara Ormiston Fund.
Yes. Thank you.
$3,501.26. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the distribution of $3,501.26 from the Clara Ormiston Fund per the request of Social Services. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So this month is National Child Abuse Awareness Month. It's recognized throughout the nation. And our county Department of Social Services Child Protection Services team is going to be putting on an event this Friday in front of our building. We'll have brochures, information on child abuse and neglect, and how to report it, who to report it to, phone numbers, etc., just to give the community some information on Child Abuse Awareness Month. And that's going to be this Friday from 11 to 2 outside our building. So I'm hoping the community response to that event, and we're looking forward to it. We are also encouraging people to wear blue on that day. So remember to wear your blue colors on Friday. I wanted to mention the phone number for child abuse regarding the hotline that we have in Colorado. It was implemented in January 2015. And the reports that go through the hotline come through our database here in Montezuma County. When I became director in 2018, we were not set up with the Colorado hotline for child abuse referrals, and where they report the referrals through the hotline. So we contracted with the hotline, and now we're getting our abuse referrals through the Colorado hotline. And that number is 1-844-264-5437, or you could say, if you want to remember it easy, you can call 844-CO, as in Colorado, for kids, and that's the number that you would want to call to report child abuse or neglect referrals. The thing is that this hotline works 24/7, 365 days a year. And I think it's really important that the community knows that there's a line, there's a phone line for them to call if they suspect child abuse and neglect in our community. I think that's about all I have to report right now, but so far everything's going pretty smoothly. We're working on several MOUs. I think Ian can attest to some of them, but there's some more coming down the pike, because we have to have an agreement with law enforcement regarding how we handle our child abuse reports and working with law enforcement. And that would include the Mancos Sheriff's Department and Police Department and our Montezuma Sheriff's Office as well. So there's a lot going on for the month of June, and also the contracts that we have for TANF. They're going on right now that have to be signed by the end of June. So we have some TANF contracts that we work with the community with our partners, like the Recovery Center, the Pinion, and Domestic Violence Renew program as well. So there's a lot of things going on in June for my department.
Okay,
Okay?
all right. Questions?
No, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Uh-oh, I missed it. Okay, Emily, you get to be next. I see you back there. Bouncing a little bit all over our agenda here, but we'll take you as you come on down.
That works for us. Well, we have a few programs that we just wanted to update you on, but main reason we wanted to just say hello this morning was to formally introduce some new staff. So we have Tierney Wilson and Todd Gunter, who are here, and I guess I'll just, Tierney, and then Todd, if you guys want to introduce yourselves and kind of talk a little bit about your positions.
So my name is Tierney Wilson. I was born and raised in this area. I left for 10 years and now I'm back. And I was involved in 4-H growing up. And so it's kind of fun being back in the program that gave me like foundational leadership skills, and that I get to help these 4-H members develop those same skills. So a couple things that we have going on in our 4-H program. We just concluded our 4-H 201. I'm so nervous. I shouldn't be nervous.
Don't be nervous. We're just
I know.
We're just having
I
a
know.
conversation. There's only 25,000 people watching you.
I
It's
know.
not a big deal.
Okay, now I feel comfortable. Okay. So this program is for first-year families. So anytime we do a 4-H 101, and then we do a 4-H 201, and this is just to help those first-year families just get that extra help that they need. I also do a 4-H question session, which is held every third Wednesday via Zoom, and parents can just jump on there and ask any questions that they have. It's really like one-on-one time with them, and that seems to be also helping them answer those questions. I do have a couple of pictures to kind of show you. Not that one, the next one over. We have a lot of pictures. We have a lot going on. So this is just a picture of two of our shooting sports leaders that attended a training, and they were certified to now help these 4-H members develop leadership skills through the shooting sports program and do it in a safe way. And then I also went with these 4-H leaders to attend this workshop. I have never shot a bow and arrow before, and now I'm a certified archery leader. So that was kind of fun to be able to do that.
So what type of bow did you use?
I shot both a compound and a recurve.
Oh, good.
So I definitely prefer the compound. And then I was able to take 9 4-H members to the San Juan Basin Leadership Conference that was held in Hesperus. And while we were there, one of our 4-H members was elected as the district vice president. So she'll be able to serve this district area in 4-H and attend state events. And then her goal is to eventually run for district president. And if she becomes district president, then she will be a 4-H state officer. And it's been a few years since we've had that. So it's kind of a fun thing to see already these 4-H members developing leadership skills. And then the last picture, Todd and I were able to put a booth together for the 4 States Ag Expo. And for the 4-H part, I'll let Todd talk about what he did with his horticulture. But for the 4-H part, we did project tasting. So we did 3 different projects from 4-H that kids can participate in. So we did leather crafts, ceramics, and then gardening. And we had kids come in and they were able to participate in those projects and kind of help recruit those kids to see if they'd be interested in 4-H. And so that's kind of what we have been up to. In the future, we do have state conference coming up in June that we'll be taking kids to Fort Collins, and then fairs coming up right around the corner. So
Great. So I have 2 questions.
yes.
So how did your transportation work to, I mean, I have to ask the question because it was a conversation that we had previously. So how did it work out?
So I guess to that specific event, I'll let Tierney answer, but we're on the insurance, we're all
Okay.
covered. Yeah.
So we're all good to go again?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just had a leader drive a second vehicle to the location, and it worked really well.
Okay. All right. Very good. That was
So-
question 1. Question 2, because we understand and realize that 4-H is for every kid in this community. How are we getting that out? Because I think the perception is still that it's just for agricultural kids, and it's really not. It's for the entire populace of this county. How are we messaging that?
So one thing that I'm trying to focus on more is focusing on the general projects of 4-H. So instead of doing livestock projects at the Ag Expo, I instead focused on those general projects, which was the leather craft, the ceramics, and the gardening. Because there's more that encompasses 4-H than just the livestock and just for the ag kids. So that's one way that I've been pushing it, is focusing on those general entry projects. And then another way is I'm wanting to collaborate with other after-school programs to try and get into there to give them the curriculum. The nice thing about 4-H is we do have the curriculum to target those kids that aren't related in agriculture. And so by getting into those programs, we'll be able to offer those different projects and help promote that, saying, hey, just because you're not in agriculture doesn't mean that you don't have a place in 4-H. And so that's been my goal. Livestock's important in 4-H, but I also think the general entries. I'm in the position that I'm in because I went the general projects way through 4-H. I did livestock too, but I also was involved in general projects, and that's what got me involved in family and consumer sciences. And so that's why I'm trying to push more of the general projects.
And I think then Tierney can focus, later in the year when the new 4-H year opens up starting in October, which new folks to 4-H, they can join at any time. But then I think that big push to make sure that we get that messaging out that this is for everyone will really start up in October. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, to see kids doing something else, whether it's, like you said, through agriculture or through the general portion of the program is critical, I think. It gives them another avenue to pursue than doing something that's not good. So.
And a lot of those kids don't know that you have shooting sports, Of course, my kids landed in rocketry. Yeah. So it's out there. My
So-
kids had a blast, I know that.
Yeah.
Literally.
Just so that everybody knows, if your kids want to be involved in 4-H, basically YouTube land, make sure you come down to the extension office, talk to these people, and get your kids involved with 4-H.
Other educational opportunities through CSU, is that being developed? They spoke of that at a meeting we had up in Denver.
Oh, I guess there are a ton of educational opportunities, but what do you mean specifically for youth, or?
Are we getting them out to the schools? Do they know about them?
Well,
I've been here 3 months. That's a work in progress, I
Okay.
promise you.
Oh, I was just checking.
No,
Yeah.
you're good. I do have future plans for that, but I'm currently just still trying to get my feet underneath
I
me.
understand.
and I think so. Greg Felson's new position as a accessible education extension specialist. So, he's still here in the Cortez area and is working on that, I guess, promotion and education of what educational opportunities are there through CSU or then through attending community colleges locally, and then that guaranteed transfer to CSU. There's CSU Online. That then he's also trying to help people be a little bit more aware of that you don't have to leave the area to attend CSU to get that 4-year degree. And there's also then that, I'm trying to remember the proper term, what do they call it? When you, for high school students, then they can attend community college and get college credits while they're still completing their
AP?
Concurrent
AP
enrollment.
concurrent
program?
enrollment.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, an AP would be another avenue, but through the community college, there's a lot of then classes that they can take that then would also, and I guess communicating that, how are those credits transferred to a university like CSU is also an important component of that, if that's someone's goal.
okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many total participants in the 4-H program now? Do you know a number?
I should. Last time I looked, it was 193, but I think that's the top end of things. We do have people joining. I keep having leaders ask me to join, and so that's kind of been a fun thing to experience of learning how to enroll these not only 4-H members but also leaders. I've had a huge influx of leaders come to me.
Good. Yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tierney.
Todd?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good morning, and I'm Todd Gunter. I guess I'm the new program assistant at the extension. So what I've been working with mostly at this point is master gardeners and trying to keep that program moving. We're going to teach a new section probably at the beginning of the year since we're all kind of new in the office. We're letting La Plata's run out and trying to provide volunteer opportunities through the summer. We're also working on our native plant program. We've been talking about getting a biologist in to lecture a little bit on some of these plants, as well as our green school program, or the green, is it called Green School? Which is basically master gardeners without all the volunteer hours. So they just pay for it. But it's educational. And that's our biggest, goal, is to outreach to all these other people. And this time of year, we're working on the orchard and trying to get it ready to go for the summer. And personally, I work with several other groups, including Common Grounds, which is the community garden. So I've got a bed over there. I recently taught a workshop on composting, and we've got a few things going, collaborating with Four Seasons and Cliff Rose as well, the local nurseries, and M.O.R.P, the Montezuma Orchard Restoration Project, the apple people. And we're just doing every bit of outreach we can at this point. Let people know we're here. We're getting ready to, the farmers market season's opening, so we're going to be at the farmers markets at least once a month. Just as information. You know, Tierney's got some programs that she's working on, like at the Ag Expo, we had the hands-on experience, but I was mostly there with Master Gardener volunteers doing information. Just letting, you know, people know we're here and letting people know that they can come to us with questions. We're getting a lot of weed and a lot of soil test questions right now.
Good.
You know, which is appropriate for the season. But that's where we're working right now.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as soil testing, what's your turnaround on your soil testing once they deliver the samples to you all? Is that a local lab here, or do you have to send that off?
No, we're outsourcing, we're having people send their samples out to different labs, either Servitec, Ward, or CSU's got their lab up and running again.
And when they get these samples back, does that then give them the deficiencies of their soil and what they should give back to the soils?
Yeah, it can. So it would tell you, you know, what levels of different, you know, whatever your testing is, will give you a rating or a, you know, reading of that. And then some of the soil test results will then give a recommendation of based on what your goals are. So is it a vegetable garden? Is it a hay field? So what are the nutrients that are needed for that particular crop? And that's something that then, you know, I can provide guidance on, is helping to interpret that soil test result. Because you get that and you're like, great, now what? What do I do to reach my goal? So now you would have to call the lab. We don't have a soil testing lab in-house. If we want to go down that road, you know, we can talk about funding that, but
I was
joking.
talking about CSU right here
Oh,
in
yeah.
the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
I would think they would have a lab, right?
They do have a lab. I'm going to be extremely honest. It's been on the struggle bus for a little while, but they have a really good new agronomist from CSU who's in charge of that lab. So I do have really high hopes that they've put a lot of investment in new technology to reduce the amount of, I don't know, labor. And it's really more streamlined. So I would give the CSU soil testing lab a chance. But like Todd said, there's a lot of private labs that are also available. And, you know, we have resources on that, you know, the testing sheets that people need. And then we can give recommendations of, based on what crop you're growing, what test makes sense for individual circumstances. So, but yes, to your original question, a lot of the labs will give, okay, based on this is what you should be applying.
And the turnaround?
Turnaround, it depends on the time of year. So I'm going to guess this time of year between a week to 2 weeks. So the labs just get busier and busier. But if someone was in a real hurry, I would call the lab before you send the sample to get a realistic expectation. But that's usually what it is.
And does that encompass, you know, large ag all the way down to in-town lawns?
Yeah, so we have 2 soil probes that we check out for free, and so people can borrow those and go take soil samples. But like Todd said, then we'll advise of how to mail that sample off, and then we can also advise once they get those soil test results. But you know, advise on like, okay, how do you take a soil test? How does that make sense? But yeah, advice from big ag to, you know, a garden bed in your yard. We can help with any of it.
Yeah, that was my question for Todd. We're seeing a lot of container gardens, you know. Is that in your guys' scope that you do?
It is, in terms of soil testing, like Emily was saying, you know, we either test a garden space or a big space. You know, we advise people to keep their testing limited to what they're trying to achieve. In terms of the other stuff, we recommend it, you know, we make various recommendations. CSU's got a really nice selection of informational publications on their website that they can go to. And also my background is gardening and permaculture, so personally, we just, I advise people as they come in and have specific questions about that kind of stuff.
At a local store, I seen a lady buying up, what I term troughs.
Yep.
And she was going to make container gardens. She says, this is as far as I've gotten so far. I gotta figure out how to get stuff in them.
Well, there's that, and, those troughs, if you're talking about the galvanized
Yeah.
ones, then they leach all kinds of things into the soil as well. But we try to, inform people about that kind of stuff. If we can get to them before they go into the store and spend a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Or
There's ways to do this stuff without spending too much on it.
like composting, and using compost in your soil can be great, but you can also over apply. And so like I had someone who had a raised bed and they showed me their soil test results, and after I recovered from looking at the excess salts in there, they're like, what else should we add? I was like, well, you need to leach this out with water and maybe amend it with a different soil. So we can help people, and even if they've made a little slight oopsie, we can help steer them in the right direction.
We're seeing a lot more of the gardens happening these days.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to the pastures and the bigger properties. More and more, even people that have room, are trying to put in a small piece of garden.
I see a lot of interest in raised beds.
Raised beds are great in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
They're limited in certain ways. That's part of what we try to talk to people about.
All right.
Sure.
How did your class go out at the church on 184 Saturday?
That went really well. So that's part of my report
all
is so the fire mitigation workshop coordinated with a lot of different folks. And I think at the bottom of that flyer, you can see all the different logos that were involved. We had really great turnout. It was a beautiful day. So we had, different fire districts came out and were demonstrating how to build, slash piles. We had Underwood Forestry came out, was talking about, chainsaw maintenance, how to fell a tree safely. And then we had BLM demonstrating a wood chipper. Man, those guys can get some stuff done. So then also we had, the various organizations that have funding, and I think that is a really key thing for people who do have forested land that they want to do fire mitigation work on. Depending on the acreage size, there are different organizations that have funding to help with this fire mitigation work and also provide that technical assistance of, okay, well, what do you do to protect your home? Maybe you're looking into like a logging operation to, help reduce the fire load on your acreage if you have, maybe over 100 acres, something like that. So what is the feasibility depending on your land size? That was something that came out of this. So it's like the Mancos Conservation District has funding, NRCS has funding, then Wildfire Adapted, Colorado, so they have funding. And talking about how do we make kind of like a flow chart that then could help members of the community know, who do I reach out to? So that was a question. Well, wait, who do I start with? And DWRF is a really great organization that's bringing all these people together to talk about this on a larger scale. So Danny he can be a really, really great contact and is someone that maybe we would work with to develop that flow chart. So I can thank James Dietrich for getting me involved with DWRF, and then I am now a part of the Outreach and Education Committee, which makes sense for Extension to be involved with. So I was happy to partner with them on this workshop, and I thought it went really well. So I was good.
Because I think that the mitigation component for us in this county is going to be huge this year. For everybody, it should be on everybody's mind, specifically with the water, the snow that we've had. We're going to have growth of all kinds of things. So mitigation is a huge factor right now that everybody should be aware of.
Definitely. And Samantha Torres from the Wildfire Adapted Partnership, so she went over, as you're looking at a home, what are ways to, protect your home, just simple things. And that was part of the workshop, which was really great from maintaining a deck or, choosing siding, all of these different things of trying to prevent that ember from really impacting the home. But you're right. The fire folks talked about we're not going to be able to save, every individual house in a really big fire. So what you can do to protect your own, residents and your own property can really make a difference. So,
From my experience, that really pays off, because I left houses that probably burnt down and houses that were taken care of that didn't burn. I mean, Missionary Ridge was a prime example.
Yeah, very, very important. So if I can help point people in the right direction, I'm happy to do that, because there's just a lot of funding out there, which is a great thing to be able to point out. So, so we had that workshop on Saturday. Then last night with Extension, we had a meeting in Durango. We had a discussion on wolf reintroduction, and so that was led by Robin Young, so she's the Extension liaison for wolves. She's in Archuleta County, and we had a panel of folks from all different perspectives, and it was a discussion dialogue. We weren't presenting the plan that is being formalized. We were just talking about wolves from different perspectives, trying to kind of understand different perspectives on the subject. So I would say it was mostly ranchers who attended, and I thought we had some pretty good discussions on it. So this was a place to start for Extension of having that dialogue. And something I'd like to do in the future that Robin and I have talked about is doing some like hands-on practical skills for livestock producers so what can they do to protect their livestock, coexist as wolves do move into this area potentially. So that, but I know this is a contentious issue, so didn't know how it was going to go, but I think we were able to do okay having civil discussions, which is what it's all about. Even if we don't agree, that we can all talk about it. So
Yeah, there's going to be some serious issues come about this thing, because there is all these people running on the forest now as far as being able to make a claim against this, being able to find those animals and getting a veterinarian there to actually certify that that's what happened. It's going to be almost impossible. I mean, just look in this area. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's not gonna, you can't find them that fast, and to get somebody to go there to actually certify that that's what it was a wolf kill, is, in order for you to get compensated for it, it's almost impossible.
yeah, I think there's definite concerns. And one thing when you mentioned finding the animals, that then part of the discussion turned to virtual fencing, which I know is you're like, oh, how is that related to wolves? But I went to a ranch tour last summer on a ranch that they were using virtual fencing, and one of the just added benefits was that then they could locate animals who were sick or had died quicker than just searching an area to find a missing animal. So anyway, I don't know if there's potential for how can we use these new technologies to help with things that are coming up, but I know at different meetings, and discussions with CPW, that concern has definitely been brought up of how do we have the manpower to confirm when there are kills? How do we do that? So, and I don't think it's all answered. But, yeah.
I don't think it'll be answered.
They don't have a good plan, period.
Prove me wrong.
I don't think that's what the plan says, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Their plan says just the opposite. You gotta
Yeah, it
prove
does.
that it
You
is.
gotta
instead
prove
of-
that it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do you have for us, Emily?
What else do I have? I have a meat day coming up on May 11th. So this will be talking about meat production, how to finish animals. We were, planning this thinking of drought. So how do you, during times of drought, how do you have enough quality forage, or what are alternative forages that you could feed animals? We have our meat specialist, Jennifer Martin, who's going to speak, livestock nutritionist, Sean Archibek, who's from the Summit Ridge area. We have a new livestock ag economist who will be talking, John Ritten. Then we have some other collaborators talking about business development. We're also planning on talking about how to navigate. There is funding to, sell meat and produce into schools. So how do producers kind of navigate that? Then we also have, trying this out, a networking event following this at Fence Line Cider for anybody who would like to join. So the event, it's $15. There's a Eventbrite registration link for anyone who's interested. But hopefully this will provide a lot of interesting information for producers who are especially interested in, direct marketing their, meat, but anyone who's interested in finishing their animals themselves. So.
We're also inviting 4-H to that event as well.
Oh yeah, so youth are free. I know it's on a Thursday during school, but 4-H and FFA students will waive that registration for any youth that are interested. And it's another collaboration with our good friends, PCC, Fort Lewis College, and great resources at CSU that we can bring down here. So appreciate them. Then I think the last thing I have is that picture of a field with some random things sticking out. So that is, I work with the Conservation District on the Colorado Department of Ag Soil Health program. And so we have, producers who are participating in that program, and I provide technical assistance with that. And then there's a CSU grant-funded soil probe monitoring program that we're now installing. So we went and installed, that's a soil moisture probe. That's the data logger that's sticking out of the ground. And then we buried 2 moisture probes 6 inches into the soil that's now covered up. But this is a pretty easy to use system. So a producer then can see what their soil moisture is, and then CSU researchers will then be using this soil moisture information as we monitor soil health of these different fields. So there's a soil health testing that's done at the beginning of the project and at the end of the project. So just collecting more data and trying to provide useful tools for producers to make management decisions as a part of that program. So now we'll have some soil moisture probes throughout the county, which will just be interesting data to see what our soil moisture is like throughout the county. So yeah, I think that's all the things that I had for you all.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Very
Would you
good.
guys be interested in doing a little bit of a presentation in front of the city council workshop?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Because I mentioned it to them and they said, you bet, so.
Just about extension in general?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Real quickly, just so, as part of our outreach, there was an old Montezuma County flyer for extension, and we've updated it a little bit and made it a card instead of a trifold,
Okay.
3 pages or 6 pages of reading, what a trifold would end up being. So I'll leave a couple examples of that up there for you guys as well.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Extension
Thanks.
has a lot going on.
We have a lot going on, and we are trying to improve that communication, let people know what we're up to. So we're always working at it.
All
All
right.
right, thanks. Okay. I don't think Bobby was going to be in today. She presented yesterday, so we'll deal that. We'll deal with that under unfinished business. I don't see Lori here. I'm not sure if she had the availability to come in today, so
I
we're gonna
spoke
go
with
by
her last week, and
senior
they are
services.
Really busy tying up, getting some funding and some paperwork caught up. And
Okay. So we'll jump right into unfinished business. First thing, we have a letter of support for Crow Canyon Archaeological Center for an enterprise zone. We did have a presentation yesterday from Jeannie Becker, and I think it pretty much is in sync with everything that they are doing to follow the enterprise zone criteria. So do you guys have any other?
I don't.
Okay.
You okay?
yeah,
I move we approve this letter of support for Crow Canyon Archaeological Center Enterprise Zone application.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support for Crow Canyon Archaeological Center for their enterprise zone application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we also, in our workshop yesterday, had another presentation for a letter of support as it related to the Colorado Outdoor Regional Partnership Initiative. This was also, a presentation was also done at the trustees meeting in Dolores last night. They approved it last night so that that application could be filled out and moved forward. So with that, any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Do you have anything? I move we sign this letter of support for the application for a capacity building grant request submitted by the town of Dolores to the Colorado Outdoor Regional Partnership Initiative.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support to the town of Dolores for the Colorado Outdoor Regional Partnership Initiative. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then there should be a diagram of the farmer's market. Jim, if you'd pull that up. We also had a presentation yesterday at our workshop by Miss Perriman. They're requesting more parking space to the south of the Heritage Center. What's depicted on the diagram is not absolutely what they need. They basically only needed the first row of parking, the way my understanding was. Is that what your gentleman was? So,
Diagram, oh, there it is.
there it is. So it's not all of the space, it was only, say if you cut that in 50%, it would be the space to the west is what they were asking.
And it's for food trucks, correct?
For food trucks. This would be for expanding the market and allowing, I think she said 4 food trucks. So. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I have no problem. I guess I don't have any problem with them there as long as the Heritage Museum and stuff is okay with it. And I guess they are, according to what they were saying. And
What she presented, I actually reached out to one of the board members yesterday, and she said, yeah, they were okay with it too. They still have parking on Chestnut Street, all the way down to the stop sign, and hopefully they'll be able to use some of that space, but I guess we can try it for 1 year and see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, we can always deny it next year, so.
Yeah, I have to be careful how I tread, but my one concern is the commercialization of county-owned property that's owned by our taxpayers. We put that farmer's market in there for farm and ag people to sell their wares, not for commercial enterprises to come in and do business on county property. And there used to be an old term called possessory interest, where if you used government property for profit, you had to pay a tax. And it went away at one time, so, but that's my concern, and I will leave it at that.
So, okay, well, we don't have to prove this today. If you'd rather
No,
take it
that's-
up
I'm
in
just
another.
voicing my opinion.
No, well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
I agree with Kent. Originally, when we put that in there, it was supposed to be for an actual farmer's market. It has expanded so much from that it's unreal as far as I'm concerned, because you got other things there that are it's not really a farmer's market. It's I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, then, do we want to deny this request? And, I mean, I recommended yesterday that they go to the city to ask for the closure of the street to put them on the city property. It still doesn't negate the fact that they're,
Let's put that, I would recommend we put it off a week and see what the city does, see if they show up at city council tonight.
okay. Well, we can definitely do that.
Do
We'll
you-
move this, if you would put it,
Do you
Jim,
see
just move
issues with this, Ian, or?
You know, I don't think there's legal issues with it. I mean, I think there's questions that obviously need to be examined. I mean, how's this affecting the local businesses in the local business district? And are we creating, you know, competition off of government property for those businesses? But I mean, those aren't legal issues as much as they are just issues for you guys to
Yeah.
weigh.
Okay, well, we can put this off a week. I don't think there was an urgency. They don't start until June, into May, yeah. So, okay, if you would move that to next week, I would appreciate it, Mr. McLean. Okay, now is where we'll deal with our Director of Public Health. We had a discussion yesterday for immunization contract for public health. Did you guys have any other further thought on that one?
Fine with that.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, from a legal perspective, I'm comfortable with the contract. It's very
contract.
typical of the type of agreements that we sign with the state when they provide money for these type of programs.
Okay,
I would so move we approve and sign the master task order contract number 23 FAA 00035 for the immunization contract for public health.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to sign the task order 23 FAA 00035 in the amount of $51,414 for the immunization to public health. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All righty. Next, we had also a discussion, I'm not sure we really have to take any kind of a position on this at all. I think it was more of a discussion, so we're going to move on about the gravel out of our Ormiston pit. We also had a discussion yesterday on the adoption of a policy as it related to the grant funding and titling of property. Ian, do you want to give a quick overview on that one?
Yeah, so we talked about this yesterday. What this policy is meant to address is grants that are received by Montezuma County. When a grant is received by Montezuma County, this policy just discusses where that money will go. It will go through administration and then to the treasurer's office. In order to expend that grant, any expenditures in the amount of over $1,000 will need to be approved by this board. The other piece of the policy is to address the titling of property that is purchased with county funds. All property purchased with county funds will be titled in Montezuma County's name. What this policy really tries to address is that we have had some issues with title and property. We've had some property that has ended up titled in departments or different entities around the county, and this just cleans that up. You know, again, I think it's important for you guys to understand that this is just a policy that pertains to grants that are received by Montezuma County. Obviously, there are times that grants may be received by offices of elected officials, and those grants, as long as the recipient is not Montezuma County, they won't be covered by this policy. I don't know if you guys have any questions, but that's basically what it is.
You answered my question, the
What?
last part.
Actually, I do have a question because I thought of this last night. So as say that's titled, then Montezuma County is responsible for insuring it? Or is that, I'm still confused on the insurance portion of that. How does that work? Because say it's a trailer, say it's a vehicle, and it has to be insured. Well, the grant came to a department or an elected official, and then it's titled to them. How does the funding work then?
Well,
Is that inclusive in that grant for that?
So that would have to, my assumption is that the insurance would have to be something that would be approved through the budgeting process. So, I mean, if a department owns a vehicle separate from the county, and it really would probably pertain to an elected official. So,
Correct.
That elected official then, in order to get that insured, would have to find money, and that money would be found through the budget process, if that makes sense.
Okay, so that would have to be a presentation through the budget process for that specific item.
Yeah, I mean, my assumption is it would be some kind of a line item, and I don't think I've seen budgets with line items for insurance.
Well, they're
but
typically not, because
most everything's gonna be in the county's
it's
name.
under the umbrella.
And
of
really, I mean, it's gonna be very rare, my assumption is it's gonna be very rare that we're gonna receive grants that aren't receivable by Montezuma County. I mean, most of the grants that entities would be eligible for would require application from a government entity. And so, again, it's not gonna be typical to get those kind of grants.
Okay.
The one I have is the one that was edited. I don't have one from the site.
Okay, well, we can approve it and
Okay, yeah, we can,
then we
Yeah.
can sign it later, so.
that's fine.
This one has edited stuff on it. So
Is the signature page good?
that's,
Would this reflect over to purchases of equipment for like the dispatch services and stuff like that?
No, because that's
that was the only one
911.
I was.
Okay.
I think we can just approve it and we'll sign it later.
I move to approve this grant funding and county property titling policy.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept and sign the adoption of a policy related to grant funding and titling of Montezuma County. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then next, we also had a discussion yesterday, as was presented to us from James Dietrich, about becoming a cooperating agency and establishing an MOU as it related to utility scale solar projects with the BLM. Like I said yesterday, the term cooperating is more significant than coordinating. So I think this is pretty valuable that we have a seat at the table to at least listen in on some of these projects.
Yes,
You guys okay?
you bet.
I move to sign this memorandum of understanding between the Department of the Interior, Bureau of Land Management, Montezuma County, Colorado, as cooperating agencies for development of the problematic environmental impact statement and associated resource management plan for utility scale solar energy development on public lands.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to sign this MOU between the Department of the Interior, Bureau of Land Management, Montezuma County, as a cooperating agencies. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and with that, I will go to my attorney's report. Mr. McLaren.
So the last several days, there have been a lot of questions in the general public about Ironwood Mill and the cleanup that's going on there. I think a lot of those questions arose because Ironwood has moved in an air curtain incinerator to the site, and they do have plans to burn some of the material there on site. Just so everybody's clear as to where that stands at this point. Per the stipulated injunction that was entered into between Ironwood, the county, and CDPHE, Ironwood is allowed to use an air curtain incinerator to dispose of those materials. There's a couple conditions they need to fulfill. They need to be properly permitted through CDPHE, and they also need to use those air curtain incinerators or air curtain incinerator in accordance with manufacturer specifications. I reached out to CDPHE to see what the status of Ironwood's burn permit is at this point in time. As of right now, a burn permit has not been issued by CDPHE. CDPHE anticipates that they're going to issue that burn permit to Ironwood either today or tomorrow. The burn permit is very clear. It's got some clear conditions to it. Ironwood will be able to operate that air curtain incinerator 13 hours a day during daylight hours. Once it's shut down, everything needs to be extinguished. They need to have somebody on site to monitor the incinerator, even during the time it's not being used. And then they need to use it again in accordance with factory specifications. What CDPHE indicated to me is that if that air curtain incinerator is used correctly, citizens really shouldn't see much smoke in the area. If the thing is loaded incorrectly, then the fans can break, and then that's when you start to see smoke. But the hope is that this will aid Ironwood in its efforts to get rid of material in that pile and do so in a safe way. There won't need to be a water truck on site per CDPHE's burn permit, and so if anybody has any questions about that, that's the permit that CDPHE issued. So again, I just wanted to clear up any questions that may be out there in the public. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me based on what I just reported.
In that permit, is there contingencies for wind and for burning on red flag days?
I know that there are manufacturer specifications, I think, for that air curtain incinerator that talk about wind and when you can burn and when you can't burn. And so I don't have those manufacturer specifications in front of me. I also don't have the burn permit in front of me. Obviously, it hasn't been issued yet. And so once that's issued, I can get you guys a copy of that, and we can see exactly how that works. Again, the permitting process is through CDPHE rather than the county. They're the ones that oversee that piece of it.
I don't have any other questions. I think the biggest takeaway that I'd like to, let the public know is that we get comments, of what are we doing, and we've never dropped this. This ball continues to roll. There's just a process that we have to go through with dealing with CDPHE in the state, and it does not roll quickly. However, it is moving, and we continue to stay on top of this, and we will get it taken care of sooner than later.
The other thing I have to report, last week I reported that in the Kinder Morgan case involving the CO2 committee, the fractional interest owners, they had filed a petition for rehearing in front of the Colorado Supreme Court. If you remember, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled favorably for us in that matter and dismissed their claim. The court came back with an order. They actually didn't even wait for a response from our side, which is kind of interesting. The court basically denied the petition for rehearing, and so now for all intents and purposes that case is closed. So that was good news. Kind of surprising that the court came back that quick, but I think it probably is reflective of how the court felt about the arguments that were made. So,
Right.
So good news there. I was in court yesterday on our Ellis Lewis land use matter. There was some hope that may resolve, but it's not going to resolve, and so we are set for trial September 7th. That'll be a one-day trial, and so at that point in time, we'll move forward and litigate that case. And that is all I have to report at this point.
All right, thank you.
I would add one thing. Last week we talked a little bit about the water issues with the Colorado River and the River Compact, and I've been doing a lot of work the last week working on a letter to our state attorney general, and Really the purpose of that letter, we've got an issue right now where new guidelines have been promulgated that call for an additional 2 million acre feet over the allocation to go into Lake Mead to even those two reservoirs. I think that there's a real concern that that water is going to get let out the lower end in the basin. Certainly Commissioner Copenhaver's talked about this and can speak to this as well. But we've had a long-standing problem in Colorado where water's going out, or in the Colorado River Basin where water's going out the lower end. And so, certainly somebody's got to hold the Bureau of Reclamation accountable and hold the Bureau of Reclamation to the allocations that are set forth in the Colorado River Compact. Now, as you can imagine, it's a really sticky legal situation based on both some language in the compact and also some Supreme Court precedent that came down in the 60s, Arizona v. California. And so working on that letter, I'll try to get that. Commissioner Copenhaver and I are going to meet this week about that, and my hope is that we can get something sent up there next week to at least provide our Attorney General with some notice and urge him to take action to hold the Bureau of Reclamation accountable so that that system gets shut off. Commissioner, I don't know if you have anything to add, but I think you've probably talked about this.
Well, yeah, I think somebody needs to. Somebody needs to take some action, because every time they've used these guidelines to equalize the reservoirs, they just let the part that was let down into Lake Mead to equalize with Lake Powell, they've let it out the other end. And so the next year, we're trying to replace what they let out, the extra they let out the year before. So it's just, we will never be able to get Lake Powell up to where it should be if we keep letting them let it out the bottom end. It's just common sense, and somebody needs to hold them accountable, because every time we put it down there, they've let it out the other end. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I don't know where it all starts, but it's got to start somewhere. We need to push back.
Okay. Well, it's certainly a delicate legal situation, but we need to at least get notice to the Attorney General that, hey, this is a real concern for Montezuma County, and I assume it's a concern for counties around the state of Colorado. And so maybe if we can kind of head up this effort, I assume that there may be interest from other counties in jumping on board and trying to put some pressure on that state office.
I think you'll find there's lots of other interest in this matter.
Yep.
Without all the counties in western Colorado.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Ian. All right. We do not have Travis here, so I'm going to my right. Commissioner
I don't
Lindsay.
have too much. I did, of course, we had a work session yesterday, but last week I also attended a hospital district board meeting and was there all of about 25 minutes before they kicked me out for executive session. But I was the only one they had to kick out because there was nobody else there. And but they do have some maintenance problems that they're trying to solve, and I think they're pretty good sized ones that they're working on. But be patient with them, and I think we can get there.
And I will say that they did lift their mask mandate that they've had forever, finally this week, and I think that's good for the community. So thank you.
Yeah, so we're working to get stuff done. So be patient with them. That's all I have to report.
Okay, Commissioner Copenhaver.
Yeah, I don't have much to report this week either. Didn't have many meetings toward the end of the week, and just keep an eye on some of the bills going through our state and the issues with it, but
That'll drive you insane.
yeah.
Actually, some of the bills were PI'd this last week, and some were laid over, so it wasn't as bad of a week as most people thought it might be. So that's actually good news.
Yeah, that's all I have to report.
All right. Again, as talked about, we had our workshop yesterday. Most of the issues we took care of under unfinished business today. The only thing that we didn't address today, which we're waiting for a contract to come back for or not a contract, information for the solar project, the utility scale solar projects, or I'm sorry,
Landfill.
the AC Power LLC regarding the development of solar on the landfill, of closed landfills. So that was a presentation that we had yesterday, and how it could benefit Montezuma County as we utilize some of the land on our closed landfill. And when we get something else further after our attorney looks at it, then we'll make a decision how to move or not move on this. Had the trustee meeting in Dolores last night. They did have a long conversation of fire, life, and safety inspections that they're trying to create an ordinance or bolster the ordinance that they have. They're having a lot of issues with the businesses and, or not a lot of them, but they are having issues with inspections over there and some of the things that they're finding. So they spent a lot of time on that. And the other big one was talking about their infrastructure and what they need to do as far as culverts, roadways, issues pertaining to an old study that they had from Gulf Engineering to fix some of those problems as far as flooding that they've had over the last couple of weeks. And that is all that I have. So I see that you had something up for Travis, Jim?
Yeah, he just had the March payables.
Okay.
That's right.
You want to present that?
I would so move we approve the March payables in Montezuma County in the amount of $3,470,726.
Second.
A little bit, quite considerably lower than previous.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the payables March 2023 for Montezuma County in the amount of $3,470,726. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn this BOCC meeting for April 25th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.